Hello YouTube, this is Sam Gerrans from Qur'anite.com. Today is Tuesday the 13th of April 2021 and I'm going to make a video which is a slight sort of diversion, I suppose, from the type of thing I normally do. Now, those who follow my channel and maybe followed it over some period of time see that I'm basically collecting books. Yes, I am collecting books. I've got more than this. I've got another wall over there that you don't see. They're not just there to sort of make myself look intelligent. I'm actually read them, and I've been collecting them for a particular reason over the last few years. And one of those reasons is that basically, in my opinion, books are going to be the internet of the future. If you don't know anything about Soviet history, there was a thing called samizdat in the Soviet system, which was that people who wanted real information, not the information that was controlled by the state, basically they had to sort of print it off themselves or type it off themselves. And this literature was passed around from underneath tables in cafes and things, from hand to hand. And was a whole sort of literary subculture, and I can see that what's happening, and I was able to see this many years ago, that quite clearly everything's being put online and things can be just dropped down the memory hole. So I've spent time collecting books. Some of them are quite recent, but most of them aren't. Most of them are books which are reasonably old, 50 years old, 100 years old, and some of them thousands of years old. Whatever. I get quite a lot of stuff, or I've got quite a lot of stuff off Amazon, and then also a lot of stuff from eBay. And you can get some fantastic stuff on eBay, especially secondhand books. It's a bit like the shop that Winston Smith used to go into in 1984. Now, why is this going to be different? Well, in this talk, I'm going to be showing you something from a book that I bought, which is to do with the occult and to do with the way that the ruling elite see the world. Now, the reason why I don't emphasize this side of things is because I don't actually want to grow my channel too quickly. I want to finish my main task, which is the God Protocol, and then after that I don't mind if it grows. But unlike most people, I've been trying to sort of keep it slow, make long, quite tedious, boring videos that only people with an attention span over 5 minutes are going to be interested in watching. And that's a really good way of kind of limiting the amount of people who are going to watch what I'm doing. Now, if I wanted to, what I would do is, there's a whole culture of stuff out there. I'm sure people watch it, of people showing stuff, the ruling elite is all very sort of fear porn based, and a lot of it's to do with, the occult and esoterica and so on. My view is that, it's good to have a working knowledge of this, and I have a working knowledge of it, but what I'm really focused on is the solution, actually making something that works. And my personal view is that, you can keep pressing the wrong button as many times as you like, but you only have to press the right button once. That's all you have to do. So I'm interested in the right button. That's what my work has been focused on from the very beginning, in fact, before I even started this period of my life. But I'm going to make a bit of an exception from that rule for now. Excuse me a second. By showing you a book which is, I suppose, conspiracy theories, how it would be dismissed. I don't think that sort of shaming language can really be used anymore. If people are still hiding behind that, they're done. And going back quickly to the COVID thing. If your life is anything like my life, you realize that a lot of your family, they're already done, so there's no talking to them, there's no helping them. There's a fantastic line in a film, American Beauty, where one of the characters says, never underestimate the power of denial. You're not going to be able to undo $1 trillion worth of brainwashing. You can't do it. A meme isn't going to do it. A conversation isn't going to do it. If they were ever going to think, if they were ever going to engage their minds, they'd have done it by now. And so really, ignorance, there is a decision, and it's more than a decision, it's an ideology. So, and these are competing ideologies. And it's not just a matter of sort of left and right. It's a matter of right and wrong. And the whole of this communistic, libtard, feministic, materialistic ideology is evil. And, if you are old as I am, I'm 53 years old. You've had a chance to see that that's the case. This entire philosophy has been totally discredited, completely discredited, and fundamentally it's satanic. It is satanic. It's not just like a different way of seeing the world. It is satanic. The communist agenda, which is the elite agenda, is in the benefit of the ruling banking elites. And it's really hard for people to work out. I happen to live in a country which was formerly communist. I would say it actually still is. Certainly all of the symbology is still there. All of the, the Lenins and the workers of the world unite, and the communist star is something we're going to get to in a minute. It's all still there. It's just sort of basically underneath they were holding it back. They kind of changed, they made communism look a little bit more capitalist for a while, whilst they communized so-called capitalist countries, then merging it all together. All this information is out there. There's a guy called Dodd who went round all of the foundations in America, and the head of the Ford Foundation. These are huge capital reservoirs that push particular agendas. Said to him, what we want to do is we want to merge communism, Russian communism, and the Soviet Union still existed at that time, with the capitalist West. Well, this is what we're living through, and the tools are feminism, all of your hashtag causes, various so-called minorities funded to the hilt in order to break down the whole of society. Now, if I wanted a much larger following of people who, the sort of the rah-rah sort of Alex Jones kind of people, I would focus on this all the time and make short videos with lots of moving pictures and all the rest of it. But that's not my goal, because I have an actual goal, which is nothing to do with any of that, and nothing to do with when enough people wake up. Excuse me again, which is one of my pet peeves. If there's one thing the ruling elite know, it doesn't matter when enough people wake up, whenever enough people actually changed anything. And on the subject of when enough people wake up, if you're trying to talk to the people that you love right now about not accepting an untested gene therapy that's going to, well, who knows what it's going to do actually, but certainly it's going to be getting rid of them and their children. This is an ethnic, genetic, eugenicist war. Okay, if you've tried to talk to any of those people right now, you know that you can't wake people up. It's done. People making their decisions now. Just as a brief aside before getting to the main topic, if you were the ruling elite and you wanted, and you realised that, all of the jobs that require low critical skills, compliance, and an absence of self-preservation, we can already provide all of those jobs by computers. How would you get rid of all those people? Well, you would come up with something that was so quite obviously a con, and just say, come on, keep taking it. Just take this thing. Just believe us, even though there's no quote unquote science. I mean, the word science now is it's discredited beyond belief. It seems to me like this is basically an intelligence test, and an test on whether or not you can follow just basic logic and think for yourself. Because I'm not saying they're not coming after us in the next round. Sure, they are definitely coming after us. That's that's where the camps are for. So, but in the first round, they want to get rid of the drones. And I don't know how it is for you, but for me, over the last 20, 30 years, I've attempted to talk to people that I care about. And up until very, very recently, it was all about, it's like we had to sort of pretend that I have a point of view and you have a point of view. And we're playing tennis, we're playing opinion tennis. We knock the ball over the net and then it comes back, and, we respect each other and all the rest of it. No more. It's all done. If you took this, you're done. I don't care what your opinion is. I don't care. And the elite don't care. And to be perfectly honest, to quite a large extent, I have to say, I sort of agree with them. They despise us to such an extent. They cannot believe that we're this stupid. But we are. Well, enough people clearly are. You can keep on kicking them, and they turn around and eat their own dead. It's amazing. And also these people who have done this, who have bent over for the Satan injection, right, or whatever you want to call it, they'll be coming after you too as well. They'll be coming after you because they're going to need someone to blame. Socialism always works that way. It always works that way. Anyway, that's to one side. What I'm going to show you now, there's a reason I'm going to show you this. It's not that I'm going to, concentrate on esoterica and, the kind of the hidden hand and all the rest of it. I do recommend that people, I don't know what you've been doing over the last 30 internet years, but me, I've been getting an education. And so I know enough about this. I don't really need any more. But going back to the books thing, I thought, you know what, I just need to buy a couple of books that cover these main bases. And so I bought a book, which I'm going to show you now. And I'm not affiliated with whoever wrote this book. I'm not, associated with it. I'm not, I don't have any sort of special links that you can go and buy it and I'm going to make money. I don't know. I'm just showing you this book because I bought it, because I've read some of it. So I'm just going to sort of introduce you to the book, and then I'm going to get to my main point. So I'll probably, this video has been going on however many minutes. We probably lost most people already, so probably good. So anyway, here's the book. Right. This book is called Vigilant Citizen, and it's a compilation of articles. And I'm just going to sort of show you the sort of stuff. Hope you can see this. It talks about mind control techniques used by the mass media. People like Bernays, if you know who that is, dumbing society down through foods, beverages, and meds. If you go back to people like, who was it? Bertrand Russell, injections, injunctions, and diets. That's how they're going to do it. That's how they said they were going to do this. Vaccines, all this sort of stuff, which really you should know about by now. If you don't, I'm afraid it's going to be a bit late for you. Irrational consumerism, the hidden hand, and then it goes through various things, mainly to do with popular culture. Now, I'm not going to kind of put all this on you right now. And a lot of it for me was kind of, I already knew this. And it's a lot to do with people who, for example, on TV, all of these sort of low-level sort of cultural prostitutes. People like Madonna and all those sorts of people. Anyway, I'm not going to go on to that, although I would say if you don't know anything about this, symbols are how we are ruled. Quickly going back to this, if you know me, know my channel, I've got various backgrounds. Well, one of them is I as a sort of side gig over several years, I used to write film reviews, and as a part of that, I studied how films are made. I wrote 3 or 4 scripts to kind of get my head around this. And what I realized is that symbology, symbols are how we're ruled. We're ruled by archetypes. Now there's a guy called Joseph Campbell who wrote a book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces, and there's quite a lot of other stuff like this which keys into, excuse me again for a second, kind of Jungian psychology, which is the idea that we have pre-installed in our minds certain archetypes. Now, if you read a bit of Jung, and I've read a bit of Jung, I'm not like an expert on him or anything, but I've read a bit. We have these archetypes pre-installed. They come, this is the pre-installed software. You don't need these. This isn't learnt. This is, you already know this. And on top of this, you get new archetypes. So if you look at any film, I'll just go to keep it simple with films. Any film you watch, there's the hero, then there's the anti-hero, there's the antagonist, then there'll be the messenger, the kind of the messenger character. In every film, there's always one. Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars. The first Star Wars is probably the most perfect film you could ever study. It's textbook. It's a template. Every story has got the same basic things in it. For example, Luke Skywalker, when he's first given the mission, he refuses the mission. every hero has to refuse. There's an initial refusal. Then something has to happen to force his hand so that he then becomes sort of as an unwilling hero. He's forced into action. Then he's going to need, excuse me, I don't smell back with my back of my throat. He's going to need some sort of information, some special thing, some ability that he doesn't have. He has to acquire that. Well, in the case of the first Star Wars film, that was Obi-Wan Kenobi. I hope I've got that right. You know, the sort of monk guy, Alec Guinness. So these are archetypes that we understand. There's a whole language associated with this, and we all understand it subconsciously, unconsciously. We understand. Now, I think it was Confucius, if I'm right. Confucius, he said. Let's have a see. I think it's in here somewhere. Yeah, signs and symbols rule the world, not words and laws. And ain't that the truth? Now, if you know anything about how computer programming works, you know, you have key words that sort of affect the operating system, affect the machine code to make things happen. That's how you program stuff. Well, we're programmed that way. And the ruling elite, they know all this. So that they have, through architecture, films, all of this stuff, basically created, if you've got eyes to see, a satanic system. It's absolutely plain. Again, as one of my sort of former incarnations, as I'm sort of say every week, I suppose, I worked in public relations at a reasonably high level, and actually a very high level, for a couple of years, and I travelled more than I wanted to. And I kept going, I was in Madrid one week, and then I'd be in, wherever it was the next week, and then in Paris the next week, and then Berlin the next week. And I was just all over the world all the time, and mainly in capital cities. And I was looking at these cities, and they're all absolutely identical. They're all identical. They've all got the same symbology everywhere you go. I mean, Paris, if Paris isn't a Freemasonic city, it just absolutely is. And I started taking an interest in this. Why are there obelisks absolutely everywhere that you go? And the same stuff is everywhere. We know all this. And I'm sure there are thousands of YouTube channels that are telling you all about this ad nauseum. So this isn't the focus here. But what I'm trying to say is that the elites, they have a religion. And that religion has iconography. And they include that iconography on you. They force it down your throat, whether you like it or not. And, there's all kinds of things like the opening of Olympic Games or whatever it is. They have rituals. And these are rituals that they understand that most people don't. They don't see it, but it goes straight into the unconscious and presses all the buttons in that unconscious without you even understanding that that's the case. Now, I took an interest in this when I was watching films and realizing, the way you watch a film, the way I watch a film is different just because of the way that I had to watch them. I had to watch them analytically. And I realized you've got the same basic characters, and what each film is doing is producing a symbology. So there's actually a language going on. I'm trying to think of a film. 2001 is a film if you want to see some symbology. But most films, cartoons, children's cartoons. So there's one language going. There's the ostensible. There's the sort of exoteric story going on. Boy meets girl, blah 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 blah. But then you've got the symbolic language going on, and then you've got underneath this the archetypes. So you're being programmed with an ideology that you're not even aware of. And that's why people seem so brainwashed, because they absolutely are. And you can't get past this to talk to, as my last remaining brother says, if you could reason with libtards, there wouldn't be any. You can't reason with them because it's not to do with reason. It's not that they're stupid. They're not stupid. Well, perhaps they're not stupid. It's that they've been expertly programmed, and you or I, there's nothing we can do about it. Anyway, we know all this, and I'm not I'm a bit tired of everyone on the cattle truck being, experts in the question of their own demise. I do apologise for this water thing, but I can't. Something going on there, and you can't do anything about it. Right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some stuff to do with the rulers, the ruling elite, and we are ruled. If you don't get that, you're not going to enjoy my channel at all, because we're clearly ruled. And if you can't see it now, I can't help you, I'm afraid. Every single government across the world, if we saw it over years, just taking my lifetime, they've pushed through the sodomite agenda everywhere. There's no country that doesn't have this, practically, maybe North Korea. But any country which stood up to this, they just replaced, the sort of middle managers, like the politicians that people vote for, just got rid of them. But it's people who would promote that. Smoking, just take smoking. You can't go anywhere in the world now and just have a cigarette. I don't smoke cigarettes, but you can't. The whole world, just woke up one day and said smoking's a bad thing? No, of course. There's just one agenda. There's one bureaucracy. It's just all sort of, but you and I are given this idea that we're free living in, making a choice and all this nonsense. And now they're pushing through, climate change, all the rest of it. And now with the COVID ideology, and it is an ideology everywhere, it's all on board. There's no way you can go to get away from this. So what I'm trying to say is we are ruled. There's a one world government. There has been one, I would say, since Bretton Woods, since about 1948, effectively, and they've been mopping up, the stragglers since then by promoting democracy across the world with all of those bombs. So what I want to get to is, and this has some bearing on my meta task of the God Protocol, because we are ruled by a very small cabal, coterie of exceptionally powerful and very rich men. That's the truth. And I'm all right with that. It might shock you. I don't see that as being unusual. I think that that's the norm. It's the case in every community, however big. Now it just affects the whole world because it's a one world state. I don't personally have a problem with there being a ruling elite. Every iceberg has a zenith, has a peak. Every mountain has a peak. It's just the natural order. My argument against the ruling elite is that they've gone off the reservation of their obligations to the herd that they control and own, and that they have completely reneged on the obligations inherent in what I call, and used to be called, noblesse oblige. It's not that you probably, this is quite an unusual idea, but I don't have a problem with it. In the Qur'an, we don't see anywhere that they said that, well, there shouldn't be a ruling elite. It's we, the people, should be should be ruling everything. No, we, the people don't know anything. People need to be ruled. In fact, as we've seen from COVID, people love being ruled. They want to be ruled. Whether we like it or not, the ruling elite are correct in their basic analysis. As has been proven, it's been proven today. If you were ever in any doubt that most people love their servitude, then today you can't really argue with this because it's obvious. So my argument is not there should be no ruling elite, and the brainwashed morons should all get together and sort of exchange feelings and somehow everything's going to be fine, or enough people wake up. No, that's never going to happen. What needs to happen is the ruling elite needs to be held, their feet need to be held to the fire, and if they're not going to do what they should do, then they should enter the fire. That's it. That's the way I see it. I'm only interested in the organ grinder. I have zero interest in the monkeys because monkeys are not playing the tune. Anyway, I'm sorry if that sounds a bit brutal, but as we get closer to the end here of this project, my tone is going to become more confrontational. Because I know how this plan works, and I know how the protocol works, and we don't have time now for delusion. We're too far down the stream on that. But if you're still here, what I want to do is I want to show you some stuff which is how the ruling elite, how they think. All right. If you're ever going to win a war, you have to understand how your enemy thinks. You should. People get very angry about there being a ruling elite, or like some sort of unnatural thing. They don't sit back and just study them. Think, how do they see things? Are they right about anything? What are they right about? What are they wrong about? This is how intelligent people fight a war. It's not just getting emotional and saying, it should be this way. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. briefly, as an aside, and I've mentioned this to several people recently, I was very interested to listen to the generals who were the leaders of the Vietnamese army, and they were interviewed. They were interviewed by an American film crew and asked, why did you fight the Americans? Why did you stand up and fight the Americans? You know, this is the biggest army in the world coming to your country. Why didn't you just give up? And they said, you know what, we would have done. We would have done. What we did was we sat down and analysed the situation. We looked at their strengths, we looked at our strengths, we looked at their weaknesses, we looked at our weaknesses, and we asked ourselves, can we win? And having done, you know, a SWOT analysis of reality, I know reality is really unpopular these days, but they'd done one on reality. They came to the conclusion that they could win, and therefore they would fight. Only on that basis, quite sensibly. Excuse me again. So you do need some sort of understanding. But what I want to do, I'm not here to frighten you, but I would like to show you some stuff to put things in some sort of perspective. Because if I thought I'm only going to fight, I personally, I'm with the Vietnamese generals here. I'm only going to fight a war that can be won. And that's it. I'm not, you know, I'm Celtic. My ethnic background is I'm an English, basically I'm a Celt. And the Celts have this, they have this sort of almost like a kind of inherent fault. They love fighting for basically for lost causes, and you know the long what do they call it, feud that goes on for, you know, forever. I once went to Limerick in Ireland to visit one of my brothers out there. I'd never been to Ireland before. I'm an eighth Irish, I think. So I went there, and in this town, there's one family, I don't know, the O'Donnellys or whatever it was, and another family, the Murphys, and they've just had a feud. I mean, they stab each other and kill each other. It's been going on for, I don't know, decades and decades and decades, like a century or 2 centuries or something. Nobody can remember why this thing happens. They've just always hated each other, and so they have these ongoing fights that just never ever end. I'm not like that. If I know that I can't win, I'm not going to fight. Oh, why would I waste my time? But if you can win, if you can win, then fight. So this is what I really want to show you. So with no further ado, we're going back to this book, which is called The Vigilant Citizen, which I got from Amazon. Again, this isn't like a personal recommendation that you should buy this book because I've got some sort of vested interest in it or anything like that. No, it's just, there's one chapter. I've been through the whole thing. I kind of flicked through it. I knew most of it. In fact, I kind of knew pretty much all of it, or I didn't care about a lot of it because I'm kind of way past that sort of level. But there's one chapter that I'm going to show you, and here we go. So, press that button. Now, I hope you can see this with my document reader. The mysterious connection between Sirius, this is the star Sirius, and human history. Now, I'm not going to read all of this, but I'm just going to sort of read some bits of it. Since ancient times and across multiple civilizations, Sirius, the dog star, has been surrounded with a mysterious lore, L-O-R-E. Esoteric teachings of all ages have invariably attributed to Sirius a special status, and the star's importance in occult symbolism is an attestation of that fact. What makes Sirius so special? And then it goes into some sort of basic sort of, could be this, could be that. Why am I talking about this? Because as we go through this, we will see that this is really the central feature, cornerstone, it's the central feature of this cult, this ruling elite cult. And they are a cult. They are a religion. They're highly religious. They follow a legal system that they apply to you and me in order to make us culpable. They're following a very set ideology, a religion. Okay, I'm not saying they all understand everything, because they split themselves up into degrees, but they're all basically on board, to use that term, with the general outline, okay, that you and I and most people have got absolutely no idea about, but which is, if you have eyes to see, that they're telling you all the time they're telling you, but people just take the plain meaning of the text. Now, let's just sort of push forward. Okay, so next bit. Sirius is located in the constellation Canis Major, also known as the dog star. Now, Canis, is Latin, is where we get the word canine from, and is therefore known as the dog star. It is over 20 times brighter than our sun and twice as massive. Well, I think we can, let's just leave aside the sort of the pseudoscience. At night time, Sirius is the brightest star in the sky, and its blue-white glare never failed to amaze, blah, blah, blah. Okay, artifacts of ancient civilizations have revealed that Sirius was of a great importance in astronomy, mythology, and occultism. Now, just quickly a word about astronomy. When they're saying astronomy, they really mean astrology, or something like a hybrid between astronomy and astrology. So, astronomy and astrology were pretty much one thing in antiquity. It's only later on that they've created a kind of a cosmogony, a religion actually, which is astronomy, and it is a religion if you actually dig into what's really in the sky. But I'm just wanted to make the point that it was much a kind of we would consider it more a fusion of astrology and astronomy when they're talking about astronomy. Mystery schools consider it to be sun behind the sun, and therefore the true source of our sun's potency. If our sun's warmth keeps the physical world alive, Sirius is considered to keep the spiritual world alive. Okay, blah, blah. Okay, I'm just going to sort of cut through and read you some highlights because we won't have time for all of it. Okay, I'm not going to read most of the next page, but I want to get to the key points and then show you why I'm doing this. In ancient Egypt, Sirius was regarded as the most important star in the sky. In fact, it was astronomically the foundation of the Egyptians' entire religious system. And just get that, the foundation of the Egyptians' entire religious system. The basic ruling elite has moved from country to country. From, it was in Sumeria, and then in Egypt, and then it's in Greece. And then went through Rome, and that was in America, and that's probably going to move to China. But it's one system. It's a Babylonian system fundamentally. So this isn't nothing. Their entire cult was based around this. And remember, Egyptian. What is it? What is the why is it that the architecture in every single city, every single capital city that you see, it's Egyptian? What's going on? Most people don't see it, but if you see it, you start to see it, you start to notice it. This is important. Okay, oops, daisy. Try again. It was revered as Sothis and was associated with Isis, the mother goddess of Egyptian mythology. Now, obviously it's very easy. You can start going down the road of, seeing the parallels between this and then the later Christian cults and etc., etc. I'm going to spare you all that. If you know that, then you know it. And if you don't, well, then you can find out about it. So let's just move forward. Isis is the female aspect of the Trinity formed by herself, Osiris and their son Horus. Ancient Egyptians held Sirius in such a high regard that most of their deities were associated in some way or other with the star. Anubis, the dog-headed god of death, had an obvious connection with the dog star, and Thoth Hermes, the great teacher of humanity, was also esoterically connected with the star. So this is going to Hermetica and esoteric traditions, and it all gets quite brain foggy and boring very quickly. So I'm just going to kind of move forward and just hit some high points. Yes, go down to that. Hope you can see this. I'm moving down to here. Recent scientific discoveries relating to the Great Pyramid, i.e. the biggest pyramid in Egypt, and its mysterious air shafts have led researchers to further confirm the importance of Sirius within the pyramid. Okay. Let's just move on a little bit. Now, there's more here about the Dogon tribe and Atlantis. I'm going to skip this and really get to what I want to show you. Okay, I think this will be it over here. Sirius in occult symbolism and secret societies. And again, this isn't going to be, the mainstay of this moving forward. So here, to claim that Sirius is important to Hermetic orders would be a gross understatement. The dog star is nothing less than the central focus of the teachings and symbolism of secret societies. The ultimate proof of this fact: many secret societies are actually named after the star. So, it's got something about tarot. I'm not going to go over that. Freemasonry, this is a bit closer to what I wanted to get to. In Masonic lodges, Sirius is known as the blazing star, and a simple look at its prominence in Masonic symbolism reveals its utmost importance. And this is what I was talking about, what you see in architecture. It's everywhere. Once you realize it, a couple of years ago, somebody came out to see me and my wife, and when we lived in Georgia, and we took them to a monastery, a Christian monastery. And we went into the main church. I went in with this chap, and we were sort of walking around. I'd been there before, so I knew what to look for. And we got to what I think would be the sort of pravoslavny, I don't want to say in English, like the Orthodox equivalent of the vestry. And I said, "Look up." And he looked up, and right there there was the all-seeing eye inside a triangle with the blazing light, which we're going to see in a minute. It's absolutely everywhere. The Masonic author William Hutchinson wrote about Sirius: "It is the first and most exalted object that demands our attention in the lodge." End quote. The same way the light of Sirius made its way into the Great Pyramid, during initiations, it is symbolically present in Masonic lodges. And here it is, right here, Sirius, the blazing star, at the center of the Masonic mosaic pavement. And then here, the blazing star shining upon members of a Masonic lodge. In Freemasonry, it is taught that the blazing star is a symbol of deity, of omnipresence. The Creator is present everywhere, and of omniscience. The Creator sees and knows all. Sirius is therefore the sacred place of all Masons that all Masons must ascend to. It is the source of divine power and destination of divine individuals. This concept is represented in Masonic art. Now, this is fundamentally materialistic. That man sort of ascends to God through his own works and through his own intelligence, forging a new reality using the laws of nature. Okay, this is an ideology, and it's embedded in absolutely everything, from the theory of evolution through to the theory of gravity, to all of this stuff, NASA, all of this stuff. And in fact, if you get this book and read it, it gives you an illustration, although I would say this is the most interesting, certainly to me, the most interesting chapter, of how this ideology, this cult, is embedded in everything. Music, so-called, although I don't think you can really call it music anymore. Anyway, let's carry on. To achieve perfection, the initiate must successfully understand and internalize the dual nature of the world, good and evil, masculine and feminine, black and white, etc., through alchemical metamorphosis. This concept is symbolically represented by the union of Osiris and Isis, the male and female principles, to give birth to Horus, the star child, the Christ-like figure, the perfected man in Freemasonry, who is equated with the blazing star. Now, this is a materialistic, dualistic conception of the world, whereby you basically have to assume that everything is here and then use these powers, these forces, in order to, as a crucible, in order to forge, what it is that they want. And that they're doing this now, going back to the COVID thing. This is precisely what they're doing. If you look at the Fabian Society, for example, they see themselves as blacksmiths, hammering out the society, the perfected society that they want. This is the what I'm showing you here is that this is the fundamental cult. Okay, there will be strains of this and strains of that, and various, like mafias, interlocking things, but they agree on some basic points. All right, I'll show you a few more pictures. Okay, here we are. Masonic art portraying Sirius, the blazing star, as the destination of the Mason's journey. Here, the hieroglyph representing Sirius contains 3 elements: a phallic, in inverted commas, obelisk representing Osiris, a womb-like dome representing Isis, and a star representing Horus. And obviously, they give us all this in the other cults. It used to be that you got it in church, but now you get it over TV because church is done. Okay, and here we have the Washington Monument. So it's, you know, this is real. An Egyptian obelisk. I've been here. I've stood there. It really exists. Representing the male principle is directly connected with the dome of the Capitol, representing the female principle. Together they produce Horus, an unseen energy represented by Sirius. And so this is how the system works. This is how the whole system works. And if you spent any time looking at, you know, the architectural layouts of cities, most particularly Washington D.C., it's right there in your face. And they have to mock the victim. They have to tell you, and it's for the initiates. You see, so when you watch the news, or I watch the news, and when they watch the news, it is giving everybody an update, but it's a very different sort of way of understanding what they're telling you. All right, there's a couple of bits I really wanted to get. I could show you some more pictures first, and then I'll get to the kind of my main sort of conclusion here. So here, a Masonic tracing board depicting the sun above the left pillar, representing the masculine, the moon above the right pillar, representing the feminine, and Sirius above the middle pillar, representing the perfected man or Horus, the son of Isis and Osiris. Notice the eye of Horus on Sirius. So, a lot of people with a Muslim background, Islamic background, will recognise that quite often, where you get the mihrab, you know, where you get the sort of the niche where people pray towards, quite often you will get on either side a pillar. So they're putting this into everything. There are. I'm not saying it's in every single mosque, but you get it in a lot of mosques. Just in a coincidence, of course. So here we are, the eye of Horus inside a triangle, symbolizing deity, surrounded by the glow of Sirius, the blazing star. And then, I'm sure we all know this one, the $1 bill, i.e. the unit of world exchange, the $1. Here we have the light of the all-seeing eye on the American dollar bill is not from the sun, but from Sirius. The Great Pyramid of Gaza was built in alignment with Sirius, and is therefore shown shining right above the pyramid. A radiant tribute to Sirius is therefore in the pockets of millions of citizens. All right, let's skip a bit. If you want to know it, then I'm going to give you this last bit down here. Well, they've got a bit about Madame Blavatsky, or Blavatskaya, I would say, because Blavatsky is a male surname. But anyway, Blavatsky and Alice Bailey, who are the central figures in Theosophy. And if you don't know, Alice Bailey founded something called the Lucifer Trust. The Lucifer Trust, which exists now within the United Nations. They had to. Apart from anything else, it's a publishing house. They had to change the name to Lucis Trust because there was a bit of blowback. So, having something called the Lucifer Trust in the United Nations, a few people had questions. It's amazing, isn't it? So, they're all pushing the same agenda. They were all big on the Dog Star or Sirius as well. I'm just trying to show you that this 1,000 points of light, they all connect in one place, and the place that they connect is Sirius. Okay. Right, but the last bit, the last one bit I want to show you is this. Alistair Crowley and Kenneth Grant. In 1907, Crowley started his own occult order called the AA, short for Argentium Astrum, which can be translated to the Order of the Silver Star. The Silver Star was, of course, a reference to Sirius. And, I mean, everybody's heard of Alistair Crowley. And really, I think he was the prophet, really, of the New Age, and everyone knows "do what thou wilt," sort of basically solipsism, basically believe in you, the new religion of me and my feelings. That the ideological sort of exposition of this in an esoteric form was provided by Crowley. The Beatles included him on the back cover or the front cover, whichever you see it, of the Sgt. Pepper's album. And he was certainly a very influential figure. Well, this is what he set up. I mean, he actually set up a couple, but this is one of them. The silver star was, of course, a reference to Sirius, even if Crowley almost always referred to the dog star in veiled terms. The whole of his magical, with a K, and there's a reason why it's with a K, his magical philosophy from his development as a young Freemason through to his final years as the head of the OTO is wholly in accordance with the Syrian influence, which was identified and expressed by other writers of his era. I'm going to skip a bit here. If Crowley used code words to describe Sirius, his protege, Kenneth Grant, was explicitly and extensively written about the dog star. And then, now this is a bit which I wanted to include. His belief that the star holds the central key to unlocking the mysteries of the Egyptian and Typhonian traditions has strengthened over time and become a central focus of his research. One of Grant's most important and controversial theses was his discovery of the Sirius/Set current. Set, we'll get to what Set means in a moment, which is an extraterrestrial dimension connecting Sirius, the Earth, and Set, the Egyptian god of chaos, who was later associated with Satan. So, this is a Luciferian, it's a satanic system. They're serving the shaitan, to put it, ash-shaitan, to put it into kind of Quranic parlance. It's not that they just have like a slightly different opinion and, tolerance of religion, and we have to tolerate you and you tolerate us. This agenda, which has been using humanism, feminism, all of this stuff, the sodomite agenda and everything else, if you'd gone back to 1960 and listened to some of the things that they were claiming then, you'd kind of go, you know what, I can sort of see some of your points. It seems like, yes. Mm-hmm. But now in 2021, we can see where it's all gone. It's totally discredited. Everything that they produced, the families that they produced, are all dysfunctional. And now, actually, what I see, perverted. Destroying especially young boys, but girls as well, inculcating into them, this idea, basically making them into highly promiscuous with no moral foundation whatsoever, and setting them up for failure and then hell. So I think we can call it evil. I think that's a fairly good kind of basic meta term for how this all works. It's satanic, all right? Let's just continue. Okay. Set, this is a quote from this guy, Kenneth Grant. Set is the initiator, the opener of man's consciousness to the rays of the undying God, typified by Sirius, the sun in the south. End quote. Second quote. Sirius, or Set, was the original headless one. And that's quite interesting when you stop and look at the pyramid with the capstone removed. The light of the lower region, the south, who was known in Egypt as An, the dog, hence Set-An, Satan, lord of the infernal regions, the place of heat, later interpreted in a moral sense as hell. Okay, I wanted to get that point in because these people, they're very intelligent and they really have an ideology and they're really using it, and they're required to sacrifice to this God. If you look at the dates on which they quite frequently begin wars and start killing lots of people, for the people involved in it, it's a tragedy. For the people watching it, the general population watching it at home, it's a distraction. Perhaps it's slightly worrying in some ways. But for the ruling elite, this is a festival. This is a day of worship for them. So, again, the way that people see things is very, it splits according to where you are in the caste system. All right. Briefly, let's move to this. Sirius in popular culture. I'm not going to go over this, but it's in Disney and all of that. And he's got some more there. I just wanted to sort of show you that. So that's the kind of the background. And now I'm going to move on. And it all seems very depressing. And it is. But I'm going to move back to... Let's see if I can move this down a bit. Yeah, do it like that. This is all based in duality. Also, if you look at the Hegelian concept of, thesis, antithesis, synthesis, it's fundamentally the same thing. It's a humanistic, materialistic, God-denying utilization of the laws that God has created whilst denying him any recognition. And to say that it doesn't work would be foolish, because quite clearly it doesn't work, because they're running everything and they're killing us and getting away with it. So there you are. And quite clearly they're right to a large extent. I'd say almost entirely in their analysis, as is proven to them every single day. They only have to wake up and just watch the news to see it works. Anyway, I'm going to go now to, it's Surah 53, and it's one of the surahs that I have covered in my, I'm going through the surahs from 50 through, God willing, to the end of the Qur'an, but I'm just going to read this bit again, and then it will become apparent why I've covered all this in such detail when it isn't something that I cover in this channel, because really it just attracts the wrong sort of subscriber. It's one of these sort of fear tourists and the kind of Alex Jones thing. And I've got, it is what it is. But my goal is to get to the right button and press it. It's not to acquire a lot of sort of comments I've got to moderate and all that stuff. I can't bother with it. Anyway, we'll start here. Okay, verse 33. We'll start there. Hast thou then considered him who turned away and gave a little and then withheld? Does he possess knowledge of the unseen? So he sees. If he has not been informed of what is in the scripture of Moses and of Abraham, who discharged in full, and the implication here is, well, there you are, here's the answer, that no bearer of burdens bears the burden of another, and that man has not saved that for which he strove, and that his striving will be seen, then will he be rewarded with the fullest reward, and that to thy Lord is the finality, and that it is he who makes laugh and makes weep, and that it is he who gives death and gives life, and that he created the two kinds, the male and the female, from a sperm drop when it was emitted, and that upon him is the next creation, and that it is he who makes free from need and causes to possess, and that it is he who is the Lord of Sirius. That puts the whole thing into the correct perspective. God creates, God gives life, we return to him, we are judged on our deeds. The ruling elite don't believe this. They think they're getting out of it. They think they've got some sort of special out, and that's why they have to make you responsible for what they're doing to you. That's why they tell you, we're going to do this horrible thing to you. Is that all right? They tell you. I have behind me the Great Reset. They'll always tell you what they're going to do, and silence connotes consent. Silence connotes consent. See, that's how it works. And so they think that the reason they're doing it is because they're very religious, not like the sort of the peons today who hardly anybody's. Well, they're religious. They're just following a sort of watered down version of the elite's own cult, but in a cartoony kind of format that they don't really understand, just like they did with the first religions. But here we are. Here it is. I'll just repeat this again I'll just repeat this because it's important. Verse 49, and that it is he who is the Lord of Sirius, and that he destroyed the former Ad, and Thamud he spared not, and the people of Noah before, they were worse in wrongdoing and worse in transgression. and the overthrown cities he cast down. Now the overthrown cities are the people of Lut or Lot. Then which of the blessings of thy Lord dost thou dispute? And if you know the Qur'an well, you'll realize that this is a kind of an echo or a prefiguring of the most common motif, repeating motif in the Qur'an, which is found in Surah 55. Then which of the blessings of your Lord will you two deny? So that's just an aside. This is a warner like the former warners. The drawing near has drawn near. There is none besides God to remove it. Do you then marvel at this narrative and laugh and not weep, while you are puffed up in heedlessness? But submit to God and serve. This is the Quranic position. Whatever they have, God is the Lord of Sirius. Their entire foundation is based on a lie, and if the Qur'an be from God, be preserved, this proves it. And that's what I wanted to show you, because it's very easy to get caught up in the idea of, caught like rabbits in the headlights of the oncoming traffic, and think that, oh no, they're going to hurt us, they're going to do this to us and that to us and all the rest of it. They should worry. They should be in fear. That this is the truth. This book is from God. And if this be true, then this contains the mechanism by which we can apply to them what they apply to us. If what sauce is for the goose is sauce for the gander also. Anyway, we'll get to that shortly, God willing. I wanted to share that because this is important. I'm not going to be emphasizing this type of thing on this channel, because I'm just going to get a load of subscribers who are going to just not really, be of any use, frankly. I don't see the point. I've got better things to do. I'm not here to become a YouTube, wunderkinder. I'm here to get a job done. So I wanted to share that. I hope that's useful. Don't let them freak you out. They go to God. And there is no VIP lounge the other side of death. I don't care how rich you are. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I hope everyone's well. I hope to drop another video in the next week or so, going back to my main task, which is finishing the God Protocol. I'm going to leave it there. That's all for now. If you're listening on YouTube, you can download my full translation of the Qur'an free using the button in the top right-hand corner, or buy the hard copy there at 10% less than on Amazon. I also encourage you to sign up for the Qur'anite Plus newsletter on the site to get occasional micro updates. You can download the audio from my YouTube videos to your mobile device using the links in the drop down below. I recommend meetquranites.com to connect with other Qur'an alone believers. Like if you like, comment if you have something constructive to say, and subscribe to get more each week. And use the link in the drop down below to donate if you would like to help me keep doing this. And remember, this life is short. Eternity is long. If you want good trees, plant good seeds.